Yeah, g'day, Bush Camping Tools here. Well, today I'm going to tell you how to use one of these VipeRay sighting aids. It's a laser sighting aid for a rifle, to get your rifle scope, like do a preliminary sighting into the rifle scope. And this VipeRay model is made by Vector Optics. I'm going to tell you some things that you've got to look out for on this, because it doesn't actually explain this very well in the manual, I feel. So anyway, I'm going to give you my version of my manual on how to use this device. Alright, let's move on. Now, the device comes with several of these small plastic inserts, and these things enable you to use this alignment tool rather on different caliber rifles, okay? And so what's not explained though is the following. As you can see, this is the back end of the aluminium form of the laser sighting device, and you can just see the thread in there, and you'll see that this is tapered here. This is slightly tapered, okay? And there's a reason why this is slightly tapered, which they don't explain in the manual, and that is because when this pushes into the form, let me just show you, it will expand it so you can fit one plastic one can fit several calibers. This is to make sure that it fits inside the barrel perfectly. Okay, let me show you that. Okay, what's not explained in the manual is that the screw must go in from this side here into this narrow section of the form here. And you can see in the upper one there, I've already inserted one into this much larger caliber adapter there. Now these plastic inserts do not have a thread in them, right? They're unthreaded, so you have to sort of like very carefully start a thread, like self-tap a thread in there. It's much easier with the bigger ones than it is with the smaller 22 cal one. Let me just put the 22 caliber one in there and show you that there. So it's much smaller there. And the smaller, you're supplied with two larger screws. This is a large screw here for the larger caliber, and two smaller screws for the smaller caliber inserts there. Now what you have to remember is the screw does not have to project all the way out the other end, and the reason behind that is, just let me illustrate it here. When you screw this into the adapter, you see this is tapered at this end. Well, this, as you screw this in, let me just do that there. What is not explained is how these adapters can do this, is that, and it's a bit difficult to work out to begin with, because this is tapered. This will spread this plastic out. It's able to spread so it can fit the inner diameter of the barrel perfectly, right? Just by adjusting this thing slightly, in and out to get it to fit very precisely like that. Okay, so that's the way to mount this thing up, and that is not explained really very well in the manual, I feel. So anyway, and I struggle with that because, do you insert the screw from the other direction or not? How is that happening? Well, it has to be done like this, and that's so this aluminium piece here can actually spread out these wings, if you like, to fit into the rifling of the barrel. Now, strangely, Vector supplied two Allen drivers. One here, this one is to actually lock on the plastic adapter, and the other one is much smaller. Here it is here, and this one actually fits these Allen alignment screws in here for the lens system of the laser, but they say on here do not shift this, and I wouldn't shift this. I don't know why they give you this one, because the only way to align this thing here is if you had this in a jig. You'd have to mount this thing at least in a lathe or something like that, in order to be able to essentially centralize the beam here. So you can see, yeah, this one fits into there, so, but it also says, do not adjust the laser aperture, do not adjust. Okay, so I don't know why they give you this one here anyway. There's no switch for this device. As soon as you put the batteries in here, there's a small battery container here. As soon as you put the batteries in here, this thing will come on. And they make it in several versions. This one's a red one. The green one I think costs more than this one, but this is a red one. So this will be limited to how far you can actually use it to help align your scope. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to now mount this 22 cal one into here. I'll just screw it in a bit here. So there it is there on the end of this. And if I put it into here, there's a big, lot of slop because it's not set up right. So now I'm just going to wind it until it expands. This plastic expands just to fit the diameter properly. Hold on, we'll see if we can see this with a better image. Okay, that's too wide, so we're just going to back that off a little bit. That's it there, and this would go into there like this, and that's held in there. That little bit of wobble, maybe I'll make that a little bit tighter. Okay, so there it is inserted into the barrel here, and as it slides up to here, of course this is angled here too, so this will just stop when it gets to the actual exact internal diameter of the barrel. That's why this part here is at an angle on here, and when you do that, that's secure on there like that. So that should be central on there. But anyway, these things are just as a aid, just to maybe help speed up the alignment of the actual scope, so you don't have to start kind of from scratch at the range. Now, one other thing I want to point out with this particular device is the adapter. These adapters that we're using here, here's a larger one here, they don't screw into the end of this thing, super secure. Like if you start twisting this around in the barrel, that's going to come off, and then you're going to have to remove it from the barrel. So you have to be careful about that when you do this. Okay, don't get these things and just keep turning them around in there like that. You'll either turn it so it starts expanding and you won't be able to remove it, or you'll turn it in the opposite direction and it will unscrew and end up inside the barrel. So best not to do that. Best just to pull it straight out when you're finished with it, like that. Okay. Okay. So this thing takes 3 LR44 1.5 volt batteries. It doesn't come with, this VipeRay does not come with any batteries. I had to buy the batteries separately. Okay. The other thing to take note on when putting the batteries in there is to get the polarity right. So in the case of most laser pointers, and this essentially is a laser pointer, the casing is positive. It's not the other way around, where the case of electrical appliances is usually negative, and at ground the casing is positive. So this will be the negative terminals up here at this end. If you don't do it the right way, it's just not going to work. Okay, and you also risk damaging it possibly if there's no reverse polarity protection in it. Doesn't say anything about that. Okay, so that's the beam diameter after a few seconds. Actually, when I first put the batteries in there, it was much wider, so maybe the electronics just had to heat up a little bit and everything to sit right. It's not a great, it's not very concentric at all. So obviously over a greater distance, we're talking about now, I'm only firing this from a distance of about 1 meter. So the further you get away, this is going to expand. It's taken on sort of like a elliptical shape. I'm not particularly happy with that. The whole thing is pretty cheap. So I mean, the whole point of these devices is it should be accurately aligned and focused. And if it's not, that's not going to be so good. So that's it there with the laser in there. It could be a better spot I feel. Because the fact is there are adjustment screws there, so I think they could have, you know, put a better lens in there. But I mean, what to expect? It's like $20. Yeah, you can't get something really good for $20. It's just not possible.